This one's locked in stone. F1 cars must have exactly 4 wheels. No more, no less. Sounds obvious now, but back in the 70s, it got weird. Tyrrell's P34 showed up with 6 wheels, 4 tiny ones up front for extra grip, and actually won the 1976 Swedish Grand Prix. That thing looked like a science fiction project, but it worked. Williams even tried a 6-wheeler later with 4 rear tyres for traction. And yes, it looked just as ridiculous. Designers were pushing boundaries, so the FIA stepped in. In 1983, they slammed the door shut with a rule that every F1 car must run on 4 complete wheels. No exceptions, no loopholes. That instantly killed off every wacky multi-wheel concept on the drawing board, including Williams' FW08C, before it could ever race. Now, even if you build a rocket on wheels, if it doesn't roll on 4, it's not Formula One. Innovation's great, but this rule draws the line. 6-wheel dreams? Dead. 3-wheel prototypes? Nope. F1's keeping it classic. 4 wheels, full stop. Drive alone. Radio ban. In Formula One, you've got teammates, engineers, strategists. But once the lights go out, you're basically on your own. The rules say drivers must drive the car alone and unaided, and that means radio talk is seriously restricted. No coaching, no setup tips, no "hey, brake here" reminders. This got real in 2016. The FIA decided modern drivers were getting too much hand-holding and wanted to bring back the hero factor. So they rewrote Article 20.1 and clamped down hard. At the British Grand Prix that year, Nico Rosberg lost 7th gear and radioed for help. His engineer gave specific gear change advice, and boom, 10-second penalty. He still finished 2nd, but dropped to 3rd because of that one illegal message. From then on, teams could only talk about safety-critical issues, like box now, engine failure, but not racing advice. You couldn't even tell a driver how to manage fuel or which settings to use. Though the rules have softened a bit since, the core principle remains. The guy in the cockpit has to figure it out. If he guesses wrong, that's racing. Pit exit line. Here's a tiny line that packs a massive punch. Cross it, and your whole race can unravel. After exiting the pits, F1 drivers aren't allowed to let any part of any tyre go past the outer edge of the pit exit line. One slip, one wobble, and boom, time penalties, drive-throughs, or worse. The rule exists to stop cars from rejoining unsafely. But things got messy in 2022 at Monaco. Red Bull's Verstappen and Perez came out of the pits on cold slicks, teetering toward the pit line while the track was still damp. Ferrari called them out, arguing they'd crossed illegally. But under the old wording, Verstappen hadn't gone fully over, so no penalty. That controversy forced the FIA to tighten the rule in 2023. Now, if the outside of a tyre crosses the outside of the line, it's a violation. No grey areas. And yes, it's caught drivers. In 2025, Pierre Gasly got slapped with a pit lane start in Miami for brushing the line during qualifying. It's one of those blink and you miss it rules, until it ruins your weekend. Mandatory pit stop delays. F1 pit stops used to be blur fast. Red Bull once changed all 4 tyres in 1.82 seconds at Silverstone 2021. But that kind of speed freaked out the FIA. So now, there's a minimum delay built into every stop. Since 2021, the rules say mechanics must spend at least 0.15 seconds tightening each wheel nut, and once all 4 are on, another 0.2 seconds must pass before the car can be released. That's not a suggestion, it's a regulation. If a crew finishes too fast, the system flags it as a false trigger, and they've got to repeat that action. The goal? Safety. The FIA wanted to stop crews from getting ahead of human reaction time, where one glitch could launch a car with a loose wheel. Now, even perfect stops are artificially delayed, just enough to stay within human limits. It doesn't seem like much, But Lewis Hamilton once joked those 0.2 could have changed championship moments. Pit crews still aim for perfection, but now they've got to build in a pause. The fastest stops are no longer just fast, they have to be timed just right. Parc fermé restrictions. Qualifying's done? Hands off. That's the essence of parc fermé. Once a car sets its grid time, teams can't touch most of the setup without facing big penalties. No swapping wings, no changing suspension, no sneaky tweaks. The FIA locks it down tight. It's all about fairness. The car you qualify with? That's the car you race with. The rule lives in Article 40.9 of the sporting regulations, and it's incredibly specific, down to what bolts you can touch. Break that rule, and you're in trouble. In Miami 2025, Alpine changed Pierre Gasly's suspension after he qualified 18th. The stewards caught it, and boom, pit lane start. It didn't matter that the change helped or hurt performance. What mattered was the violation. Casual fans might wonder why a driver suddenly drops from 12 pesos to starting last. 9 times out of 10. Parc fermé penalty. It's one of F1's stealthiest punishments. You don't see it on track, but it bites hard. For teams, it's a gamble. For drivers, it's brutal. Once qualifying ends, the setup's frozen. No exceptions. Media duties. Win the race. Take pole. Get ready to talk about it immediately. F1 drivers are required to appear in post-session interviews, podium ceremonies, and press conferences. If they skip it, fines, penalties, even grid drops. These aren't suggestions. They're actual rules buried in the FIA media delegates' notes. Top 3 qualifiers must head straight to TV interviews and press. Eliminated drivers? They've got to be available too. And after the race, the podium finishers must stick around in full team gear for interviews and celebrations. No hiding. It might sound soft, but these rules carry weight. Max Verstappen got fined in 2023 for blowing off a press conference. And back in 2013, Massa and Alonso caught heat for slipping in coded messages during media sessions, sparking an FIA investigation. The rule keeps the show running. It gives fans access, helps broadcasters hit their marks, and ensures the sport stays visible. Drivers might hate it when they're frustrated or exhausted, but tough luck. If you don't show up for the cameras, the stewards might just show up in your penalty column. Shortened race point system. Not every Grand Prix hits the finish line, and, when races end early, F1's point system gets weird. Since 2022, there's a scaled structure based on how much of the race actually ran. But here's the catch. No points at all unless at least 2 green flag laps are completed. Once that threshold's hit, the tiers kick in. 2 to 25% distance equals top 5 score, 6 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. 25 to 50% equals top 9, gets scaled points, 13-10-8-6, -5-4-3-2-1. 50-75% equals top 10 score. But reduced, 19-14-12-9-8-6, -5-3-2-1. 75% plus equals full points. Business as usual. Why all the math? Blame Belgium 2021. That soggy mess ran just 2 formation laps behind the safety car. And somehow, Max Verstappen still got half points and a win. Fans were furious. So, the FIA rewrote the rules. It showed up again in 2023. Mexico's race was abandoned early, and points were sliced. Even at Silverstone, confusion reigned over which tier applied. This rule demands fans learn mini-math mid-race, because when the rain falls or chaos hits, the points chart takes over. Team orders ban, 2003 to 2010. From 2003 to 2010, F1 had a rule that feels surreal today. Team orders were banned. That's right. For nearly a decade, You couldn't tell one driver to let the other pass, at least not officially. The ban came after Ferrari's infamous stunt at the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello slowed down on the final straight to let Michael Schumacher take the win by 0.2 seconds. Fans booed, the media exploded, and the FIA stepped in. The next year, they made it clear, no instructions that affect race results. But F1 teams aren't stupid. They just went undercover. In 2010, Ferrari told Felipe Massa, "Fernando is faster than you." Everyone knew what that meant. Alonso passed. Massa faded. Ferrari got fined $100,000, but the win stood. The rule became a joke. Everyone followed it in spirit, but broke it in code. By the end of 2010, the FIA gave up and scrapped it. Today, team orders are back and fully legal. But for 7 years they were a secret dance, allowed only if whispered in disguise. Qualifying tyre rule dropped in 2022. Before 2022, reaching Q3 came with baggage. You had to start the race on the same set of tyres you used for your fastest Q2 lap. Sounds technical, but it shaped entire grid strategies for over a decade. The rule launched in 2007 during Bridgestone's control era, aiming to mix up strategy and help midfielders fight back. But instead, it punished those qualifying 7th to 10th, cars that were quick, but not quick enough to make their tyre disadvantage worth it. Drivers in P11? They got fresh rubber and better flexibility. By 2012, teams and drivers were openly calling it gimmicky. In 2022, the FIA quietly killed it. No big announcement, just gone. As of then, every driver gets free tyre choice for the race, no matter where they qualified. It was a small rule with big consequences. If you ever saw a pole sitter on slower rubber than the guy in 11th, that was it. Since the change, strategy's cleaner, fairer, and way less confusing. One weird rule erased, and honestly, not many people miss it. 107% qualifying rule. F1 isn't just about being the fastest, it's also about not being too slow. That's where the 107% rule kicks in. If your best Q1 lap is more than 107% slower than the fastest time in that session, you're out. No race start, no do-over. This rule first appeared in 1996, aimed at stopping underfunded teams from just showing up with cars that couldn't compete. It was dropped, then reintroduced in 2011, and it's been quietly removing slow cars ever since. Take HRT in 2012. Both De La Rosa and Karthikeyan failed the 107% mark in Australia and were denied entry to the race. More recently, Brendan Hartley missed it in 2018 but got a free pass because his practice times were solid. That's the catch. Stewards can allow exceptions, especially if a driver had issues or showed pace earlier in the weekend. Most fans never notice it until someone who qualified just doesn't appear on Sunday. It's like a minimum speed rule in disguise. In F1, if you're too far off the pace, the stopwatch might send you home. And that's just a handful of the weirdest F1 rules hiding in plain sight. So, which one surprised you the most? Comment down below, and if you want more deep dives like this, don't forget to subscribe.